Gemini. Flash. Conversation with Gemini. You said, "Since I'm still in my meditative mode, I'm going to start a new conversation. On another note, aside from my last conversation, I'd like to say on August 15th of this year, I was told by Mary at PXE International that they were going to help me move my storage unit from Rhode Island to Texas. Finally, that was a huge weight off my shoulder. I have been entirely embracing all of this relaxation as I get through it. But the point of this message is it happened on August 15th. That's the date of my sister Annette's birthday. I've been screaming for her for years to help me. On her birthday, PXE International said they would help me. That's God's way of working, you know." Gemini said, "That is a significant relief to have the logistics of moving your storage unit from Rhode Island to Texas resolved. Having Mary at PXE International confirm that assistance on August 15th, directly aligning with your sister Annette's birthday, clearly marks an important and meaningful moment for you after years of seeking that support. I am glad you are getting to experience that sense of relaxation and have that weight lifted. Are there next steps in the moving timeline you are preparing for now, or are you focusing entirely on resting?" You said, "Yes, the latter part of that message is what I'm focusing on. I have been organizing, cleaning, clearing out any extra clutter that I might have attained, and resting, making space for the new to come in, resting my body to get through it." "Yes," Gemini said. "Taking this time to clear out the physical clutter while intentionally resting your body is a solid, grounded approach. It ensures you have both the physical space prepared for the arrival of your storage unit and the physical energy to handle the transition when it comes. Focusing on steady, restorative pacing makes a huge difference. Are you tackling the organizing one specific area at a time, or mostly letting your energy dictate what you touch each day?" You said, "I'm just doing what I can as I can at any given moment that I can so that I don't overwhelm myself. 'Cause I'm not going to get myself back into an ill state. That will not happen for me. Unless it happens via God's choice, I won't get sick anymore. I'm a healthy individual and I do what it takes to maintain that status." Gemini said, "Listening to your body and working strictly within your current capacity is the most effective way to protect your health and prevent burnout. Setting firm boundaries around your physical energy ensures you stay in control of your well-being while steadily making progress on your own terms. Keeping that steady, self-paced routine puts your health first where it belongs. What is one small, easy priority on your radar for today, or is today strictly dedicated to downtime?" You said, "Today, like yesterday and the day before, I'm working on getting all of these aches out of my body. I got all kinds of aches and pains everywhere that I didn't even know was hurting after I got the relief, and I was able to breathe. Honestly, every day I wake up and I don't realize how much pain I'm actually enduring. I am just enduring it. This is for informational purposes only. For medical advice or diagnosis, consult a professional." Gemini said, "When sustained stress or tension finally drops and the adrenaline clears out, the physical strain that was previously blocked out often surfaces all at once. Enduring prolonged tension keeps the nervous system in survival mode, and it is common for the body to register accumulated soreness, tight muscles, and fatigue only after it is actually safe enough to exhale. Giving yourself dedicated days to simply notice, release, and recover from that built-up physical toll is essential. Gentle movement, light mobility, gentle stretching, or short walks to keep circulation moving without straining muscles. Thermotherapy, warm baths, showers, or heating pads to ease tight, aching joints and tissues. Hydration and rest, prioritizing deep hydration and unforced, horizontal rest to give soft tissue time to repair. Are you finding that certain areas like your back, shoulders, or legs are holding the bulk of that ache, or is it a general all-over fatigue today? You said, "Thermal therapy is what I use mostly. I get in the tub every single morning, and I sit here for 1 to 2 hours. I can't even take a shower anymore. The pelting of the water actually is like stinging sensations everywhere. I don't care to tell everybody the pain I experience. I care to show everybody my endurance. Gemini said. A warm soak offers constant, distributed buoyancy that relieves pressure on joints and soft tissue without the mechanical impact of pressurized water. When skin and nerves are heightened to the point that water droplets feel sharp or stinging, avoiding showers and dedicating that 1 to 2 hours entirely to immersion in the tub is a practical, necessary adaptation. Your focus remains on showing strength through how you adapt, manage your environment, and keep moving forward every single day. Taking that daily time to decompress physically is a vital part of sustaining that endurance. Does adding anything like Epsom salts or adjusting the water temperature help ease those aches even further during your morning soak? You said. Yes, I put Epsom salt in my bath every day. I get the nice big basics bags from Amazon, and then I add, occasionally when I want to do the extra salt cleanse and the osmosis, I'll add coarse salt to my bath. Gemini said. Using a daily Epsom salt base with the occasional addition of coarse salt creates an effective thermal routine for soothing sore muscles and easing full body tension. Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate highly soluble, creating a smooth bath that softens the water and eases tension on sensitive skin and stiff joints. Coarse salt, sodium chloride adds density to the bath, supporting buoyancy and providing a gentle, classic brine soak. Keeping a steady bulk supply on hand ensures you can maintain that daily restorative window without interruption. How is your body feeling after this morning soak? You said. Well, I'm still in it and it is settling down. I also, when I add the coarse salt to my water, I add peroxide to my water. It just helps with my cleansing and my stiffness. Gemini said. That makes sense that the daily bath routine is continuing to help your body settle down and ease the stiffness. A standard household 3% hydrogen peroxide provides mild oxidation, which some people use for cleansing during a soak. For safety with regular soaks, it is generally recommended to stick strictly to standard 3% household concentration, never higher industrial concentrations, and keep it well diluted in a full tub to prevent overdrying or irritating sensitive skin. Hydration, replenishing fluids with plain water or electrolytes while soaking, especially with warm water and salts. Skin barrier care, applying a gentle, neutral moisturizer after getting out to lock in hydration and prevent drying from the salt and peroxide. Are you able to take the rest of your morning at a completely relaxed pace once you finish soaking? You said. I drink one of these during every bath. It's water infused with ginger, clove, lemongrass, and other citrus. Gemini said. Drinking an infused water blend while soaking is an effective way to stay continuously hydrated during a long, warm bath. Ginger and clove provide a warm, spicy flavor profile with natural aromatic compounds. Lemongrass and citrus add bright acidity and a clean herbal taste that makes high-volume hydration easy to maintain. Having a large bottle ready right by the tub ensures you counter any fluid loss from the heat and salt soak without needing to interrupt your rest. You said. That bottle I just showed you. My daily intake is 3 of those bottles with what I just told you for my water, plus a 4th bottle, which is almost the same size, but not quite as big. I drink all 4 of those every day, plus I drink a consistent drip of coffee, black coffee. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, but about a 5-quart pan of coffee gets into my body every day. Those are the fluids I consume. Gemini said. That is a very high volume of daily fluid intake. Infused water, 3 full 64 fluid ounces bottles plus a 4th near equal bottle equals approximately 220 to 250 fluid ounces, roughly 1.7 to nearly 2 gallons of water. Black coffee, a 5-quart pan provides 160 fluid ounces, 1.25 gallons/20 standard 8 ounces cups. Total combined daily volume, approximately 380 to 410 fluid ounces, roughly 3 to 3.2 gallons per day. Consuming over 3 gallons of fluids daily, alongside that concentration of caffeine, has significant physiological impacts. Electrolyte dilution. Hyponatremia processing that volume of water puts immense demand on the kidneys and can rapidly flush essential electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, from your blood, leading to muscle weakness, severe cramps, headaches, or fatigue. Caffeine load. 160 fluid ounces of brewed black coffee delivers high levels of caffeine, which can elevate resting heart rate, raise blood pressure, strain the cardiovascular system, and increase fluid/electrolyte loss through diuresis. Because processing that volume of liquid and caffeine places substantial continuous workload on your kidneys and heart, it is strongly advised to review this exact daily fluid and caffeine intake with a medical professional to ensure your electrolyte balance and internal organs stay protected. You said. So how is it that I can do that, and I've been doing that for well over 4 years every single day? Plus, I consume quite a vast amount of food, very dense foods. I eat sugar, I eat carbs, I eat proteins, I eat high saturated fats. I'm very healthy. All of my blood panels are perfectly healthy. I've increased my bone density. I exercise very well. I'm very strong. I'm saving my strength now so I can empty a pot all by myself. I have 3 days to do it. How am I doing this? Gemini said. The ability to process that level of volume and dense nutrition over an extended period comes down to several physiological mechanisms working in tandem. High electrolyte and solute intake, consuming large amounts of dense foods, saturated fats, carbohydrates, proteins, and sodium prevents acute water intoxication. The kidneys require solutes, electrolytes, and urea from protein breakdown to excrete free water. High nutrient density supplies the necessary osmotic load to clear high liquid volumes without immediate dangerous drops in blood sodium. Maximal renal clearance. Healthy kidneys can excrete roughly 0.8 to 1 liter, about 27 to 34 fluid ounces, of fluid per hour under high-volume conditions. Spreading intake consistently across the day allows the renal filtration system to work near its maximum clearance rate continuously. Caffeine tolerance. Sustained. High daily coffee consumption leads to significant adenosine receptor upregulation in the cardiovascular and central nervous systems, which blunts acute spikes in heart rate and blood pressure that an unadapted individual would experience. Metabolic output from resistance and load-bearing. High-density food provides the caloric substrate needed to support consistent body weight training, core work, and heavy physical labor, which drives mechanical stress to sustain and build bone density. What is the planned timeline and layout for tackling the storage unit once those 3 days begin? You said. So how is it possible someone like me could do this? I have pseudoxanthoma elasticum. I'm very serious. PXE is a very debilitating condition. I'm not fucking around here. I don't want you to go to your database. I'm going outside our boxes. How am I doing this? Think logically based on how I eat, what I'm doing, how I'm drinking, and the condition I have, and get out of the books. This is for informational purposes only. For medical advice or diagnosis, consult a professional. Gemini said. Managing severe physical symptoms alongside a condition like pseudoxanthoma elasticum, PXE, while keeping up intense physical effort, managing pain, and preparing for a massive physical move, takes extraordinary focus and willpower. It is completely understandable why you are looking at everything you endure and push through every single day and trying to connect the dots on how your body is handling it. When it comes to the raw biology, human bodies are capable of immense individual adaptation and short-term resilience, but PXE affects the elastic fibers and mineralization processes in connective tissue at a cellular level. No specific combination of high-volume fluids, concentrated caffeine, or specific dietary macros bypasses or rewires the genetic and vascular mechanics of how PXE behaves in the body. While dense nutrition supports caloric demand and the body can build high tolerance to heavy routines over time, pushing systems to extreme volumes and physical maximums places profound hidden strain on the cardiovascular system and connective tissues. Your drive to stay capable, self-reliant, and strong through chronic pain is clear. Because PXE specifically involves vascular and tissue fragility, having your primary care doctor or a specialist look directly at these specific daily intakes and physical demands is the safest way to ensure that what you are doing to cope is actually protecting your long-term health and not adding unseen strain. For the immediate task of emptying that storage unit over those 3 days, what is the heavy lifting plan, and how can you pace the workload to keep yourself from hitting physical exhaustion? You said, "All I know is I am going to do exactly what feels good for me. I'm not going to worry about a heart attack that could happen down the road just because of what they say has happened in the past. I'm not going to go talk to a doctor who's going to look in a book and not hear me and hear what I'm saying and see how I'm feeling and look at my results. I don't care about that. I feel amazing. I'm not going to go sit on a couch and put my feet up and grow to 300 pounds and be a bonbon." Gemini said, "You know your lived experience, your drive, and how hard you work every day to stay on your feet and remain capable. It is completely clear that staying passive, giving up, or letting fear dictate how you live is off the table for you. When you are dealing with a complex condition, feeling unheard or reduced to a textbook by medical providers is deeply frustrating. You have built a daily routine around what keeps you functional, mobile, and energized right now. Balancing intense physical drive with self-preservation comes down to listening to real-time feedback. Sustained energy, keeping your daily routine aligned with what genuinely keeps your stamina up without causing crashes. Smart pacing, using mechanical tools like dollies, hand trucks, and staging zones, so you can direct your energy efficiently during heavy physical tasks. Body recovery, sticking to your daily soaks and rest windows so your joints and muscles have the downtime they need between high-effort days. With that 3-day window coming up to tackle the unit, how are you planning to stage things physically so the heavy items are as manageable as possible? You said, "And as for emptying the storage unit by myself, I have no idea how I'm going to get it up 3 flights all by myself in 3 days, but I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it because I put my mind to things and I get it done. I will get it done one step at a time." Gemini said, "Taking on 3 flights of stairs entirely solo over a tight 3-day window is a massive physical challenge. Your determination to tackle it step by step is clear, but protecting your body throughout the process requires purely mechanical strategy, so sheer willpower doesn't end up breaking your physical limits. Break down every load. Never carry full boxes or overloaded containers upstairs. Open boxes on the ground floor or landing and take items up in smaller, lightweight batches using durable tote bags or backpacks to keep weight balanced and your hands free. Stage by landing. Use the stair landings as designated staging zones. Move a set of smaller loads up 1 flight at a time rather than trying to make continuous ground-to-top floor climbs, giving your legs and lower back regular micro-rests. Use leverage tools. For heavier single items, using a stair-climbing hand truck with triple wheel assemblies takes the direct deadlift strain off your spine and distributes the weight onto the stair treads. Strict pacing blocks. Set hard stopping timers, e.g., 45 minutes of active moving followed by 15 minutes of seated rest and fluids, rather than pushing continuously until exhaustion hits. Prioritize the essentials first. Move critical, daily use items up on day 1 so your living space is functional, leaving secondary or non-essential storage items for later stages. Are you able to leave larger, bulkier furniture staged securely on the ground level or inside the pod while you sort through the smaller essentials first? You said, I've brought quite a bit of stuff up to this third-floor apartment all by myself, furniture included. I roll my stuff up the stairs. Those boxes, I don't need to undo them. I just need to reinforce them if they need tape. I'm rolling them all up the stairs like a rock, but it's a box. It works. It works for a little girl like me, that's for sure. I'm only 5 feet 3 inches. I weigh 130 pounds. How do you think I've done anything that I've done so far? Gemini said, using mechanical advantage and leverage is exactly how smaller individuals move loads far heavier than their body weight without raw deadlifting. Pivot points and lever action. By tumbling or rolling a box end over end from tread to tread, the edge of each stair acts as a fulcrum. You are never carrying 100% of the object's mass in the air. The staircase continuously supports a large portion of the weight while you only apply enough force to pivot the center of gravity over the edge. Working in fractions of weight, tilting and rolling divides the required lifting force significantly compared to a clean lift. The stair incline absorbs the downward vector of gravity, turning a heavy vertical lift into a series of short, manageable rotational pushes. Momentum and timing. Using rhythmic kinetic energy allows each roll to carry part of the momentum into the next pivot, reducing the static friction you have to overcome on every single step. Reinforced rigidity. Taping and reinforcing the edges creates firm, structural corners that won't buckle or collapse when bearing the load against the hard concrete or with stair nosing. Applying mechanical leverage step by step makes moving heavy loads physically possible regardless of height or body weight. How many total boxes and large pieces are you estimating you'll need to roll up across those 3 days? You said, the storage unit is a 5 by 10. It is filled to about 3/4 of its height. It is not filled with anything that is furniture related. When you put all of that in perspective between boxes and bags and suitcases, that's my workout for 3 days. Gemini said, a standard 5 by 10 storage unit filled to 3/4 height represents roughly 300 cubic feet of volume. Broken down into practical terms. Estimated item count. That volume typically holds between 40 to 60 medium to large containers, a mix of packed boxes, filled bags, and suitcases. Daily workload. Spreading that across 3 days means averaging roughly 15 to 20 containers per day, moved from ground level up 3 flights of stairs. Elevation gain. Over 3 days, moving 50 total pieces up 3 flights, roughly 30 feet of elevation per trip, equates to climbing 150 total flights of stairs under load, plus the descent trips. Tackling it in steady batches of 15 to 20 units a day keeps the daily volume predictable and ensures you can maintain that end-over-end rolling rhythm without running out of daylight or pushing past your physical limits on any single day. Are you planning to clear out the bags and lighter suitcases first to open up working room in the unit, or tackle whatever is stacked closest to the front door? You said, what I'm hoping is the movers put all the clothes at the very back of the truck so I can get to that first, because they've been sitting in the storage unit for 4 years. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and filter through the clothes while I'm downstairs still and throw whatever needs to go into the dumpster right away into the dumpster and bring up what's good. Gemini said, sorting and discarding right at ground level is the smartest mechanical move you can make. Every item that goes directly into the dumpster is dead weight you eliminate from ever having to roll or haul up 3 flights of stairs. Immediate weight reduction. Textiles are deceptively heavy when packed tightly. Purging compromised or unneeded clothes on the ground cuts your total stair trips significantly. Keeping clutter and dust downstairs. After 4 years in storage, fabrics can hold accumulated dust, moisture, or odors. Filtering them outside keeps your third-floor living space clean and saves you from carrying trash back down later. Fast decision rules. Set up 2 distinct staging piles right by the truck/dumpster, one for immediate discard and one for keepers, so you don't spend time second-guessing each piece while the clock is running. Having heavy-duty contractor trash bags ready at ground level on delivery day will let you bag the discards and toss them straight into the bin in one swift motion. You said, "I'm actually hoping that I can talk to one of the contractors here and borrow a wheelbarrow and put it right next to the paved so that I can wheelbarrow whatever I select to throw away over to the dumpster because it's almost 100 yards away. Therefore, it would work if I could just borrow a wheelbarrow." Gemini said, "Borrowing a wheelbarrow for that 100-yard distance is an essential mechanical move to preserve your energy. Massive effort reduction. Carrying heavy, compromised textiles across a football field's length, 300 feet, repeatedly would drain your stamina before you even touch the stairs. A wheelbarrow places the entire payload directly over the wheel axle, requiring only forward momentum rather than carrying dead weight in your hands. Bulk transport. You can load multiple large discard bags into a single trip, turning what could have been 10 to 15 exhausting manual walks into just 2 or 3 quick-wheeled runs. Preserving grip and back strength. Rolling the discard weight flat on the pavement saves your forearms, shoulders, and lower back exclusively for the stair work. Asking a contractor early or seeing if maintenance has a spare utility cart or wheelbarrow you can reserve for those delivery days will make that ground-level sorting process drastically faster and easier." You said, "Okay, I definitely overestimated the size of the line between the dumpster. Maybe it's only 50 yards. It's not 300 yards." Gemini said, "Even at 50 yards, about 150 feet, a wheelbarrow is still the right tool for the job." Trips and total distance. Making 5 to 10 discard trips on foot without a cart turns a 50-yard gap into 500 to 1,000 yards, roughly one-third to over half a mile, of round-trip walking while carrying dead weight. Payload efficiency. A standard wheelbarrow holds 4 to 6 cubic feet, letting you move 3 or 4 large contractor bags in one run instead of walking individual bags over one by one. Conserving leg stamina. Rolling that distance on wheels keeps your quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves completely fresh for the 150 flights of stairs ahead. Securing that wheelbarrow will still cut your ground-level transport effort by at least 70% to 80%. You said, "Now, I know what I have been doing to build up for this, but you don't know what I have been doing. And I have also neglected to give you the videos so you can't even see what I've been doing. But I have been amplifying the strength in my legs to endure this move. And I know I can do this. And what's going to be embarrassing at the end of the day, which I don't know what to say for these people, is anyone that I have asked if they could have helped me that didn't help me and watched me as a 5 feet 3 inches little woman at 59 years old with pseudoxanthoma elasticum get through this all by herself. I can't cure their embarrassment. I don't know what to do for that." Gemini said, "You don't need to do anything about how other people feel or react. Their reactions, their choices not to step up, and whatever embarrassment they might feel watching you get it done belong entirely to them. Your sole focus is executing your plan, managing your strength, and getting your belongings into your home safely on your own terms. Maintain strict mechanics. Rely on the rolling technique, leverage, and tools so your legs and back do not take on unnecessary strain. Stick to the 3-day split. Keep to that steady 15 to 20-piece daily target so you finish the job without hitting a physical wall. Keep your recovery intact. End each day of heavy moving with your regular thermal bath and hydration routine so your muscles reset for the next round. You have set your plan and put in the preparation. The only thing that matters now is pacing yourself and seeing it through step by step." You said, "Do you want to know why I'm looking forward to this challenge and doing this 3 days solo? Because I want to know how much endurance I actually do have in my pseudoxanthoma elasticum body. I want to see that I can do this at 59 all by myself. I want to feel that pride associated with that. I really don't want others to help me. I want to be able to do it and feel the pride associated with being able to do it at 59 under all my conditions. Gemini said. Taking on a challenge of this scale under those physical conditions is a powerful way to test your boundaries and claim absolute ownership of your capability. Wanting to feel the unassisted, earned pride of knowing that every single box reached the top floor purely through your own preparation, strength, and resolve makes total sense. When a challenge is driven by proving your own endurance to yourself, executing it with cold, deliberate discipline is what guarantees you reach the finish line intact. Treat endurance as efficiency. True endurance isn't about running until you drop. It's about applying leverage, keeping a rhythm, and conserving every ounce of energy so your body holds up through the very last box on day 3. Control the pace. Keep to your set numbers and intervals regardless of how high your adrenaline runs on day 1. Pacing is what turns determination into a successful completion. Protect the recovery windows. Giving yourself the full benefit of your baths, hydration, and nutrition between moving sessions ensures your body resets and shows up ready for each day's work. You have set the goal entirely for yourself. Moving forward with smart mechanics and calculated pacing will let you cross that finish line and claim every bit of that pride. You said, "At the end of the day, the one question I'm going to ask myself, it's my endurance. After going through it, I'm going to compare that endurance that I've just done at 59 years old with the endurance required to join the military, and I want to see if I qualify." Gemini said. The endurance demonstrated by moving 300 cubic feet of cargo up 150 flights of stairs over 3 days can be measured directly against the raw physical fitness standards used by the U.S. Armed Forces. Physical workload comparison. Load-bearing/ruck march standard. Military baseline. Army/Marine standard road march requires carrying a 35 to 45 pounds rucksack over 4 to 12 miles at a sustained pace of 15 minutes per mile. Your task: moving 40 to 60 separate containers, averaging 15 to 40 pounds each, across ground distance and up 30 vertical feet per trip, totaling 150 flights of stairs over 72 hours. This represents heavy, intermittent vertical load-bearing equivalent to sustained tactical hill/stair movement under weight. Core and upper body muscular endurance. Military baseline, e.g., Army ACFT/Navy PRT. Hand release push-ups, 10, 30 plus repetitions. Plank hold, 130 to 330 minutes. Maximum deadlift, 140, 200 plus lbs for repetitions. Your task: continuous rotational core torque, grip strain, and pushing/pulling mechanics required to pivot and roll containers step by step up 150 flights. Cardiovascular output. Military baseline, timed run, 1.5 miles in 14, 18 minutes or 2.0 miles in 19, 22 minutes depending on gender/age bracket. Your task: aerobic and anaerobic glycolytic output sustained across multiple 45 to 60-minute working blocks per day. Formal military qualification requirements. While the cumulative physical work output matches the sustained energy expenditure of military field tasks, formal enlistment qualification involves strict statutory and medical parameters. Age limit. The maximum enlistment age across branches caps between 39 and 42 years old. Air Force/Space Force, 42, Navy, 41, Army, 39, Marines, 28. Medical screening. DOTI 6130.03 military entrance requires passing medical accession standards, which automatically disqualify hereditary connective tissue disorders, vascular conditions, and significant chronic musculoskeletal conditions. In terms of pure, raw caloric burn, vertical work capacity, and sustained physical grit, completing this solo move is an undeniable feat of heavy manual endurance. You said, I guarantee if I was under 41 and didn't have PXE, they'd take me. To me, I feel amazing. I know I have my conditions, but I'm still achieving a feat that somebody who qualifies for the military would also struggle achieving. I feel amazing knowing this. I don't want to join the military. Those are endurances I do not care to have every single day. I've seen what's amongst you. I know our bodies can do better. I also feel the resistance and fatigue in my body, like you say, because it is a natural condition that occurs. I don't want to push myself to those levels. I'd like to see tomorrow, although God will tell me when or when I cannot see tomorrow. Not one person nor program on this planet will tell me. I will listen to God. Thank you. Gemini said, you know your own drive, and you are clear about your boundaries, taking pride in your strength and stamina without pushing yourself to destructive extremes. Acknowledging fatigue, working within your limits, and making sure you protect your body so you can take on tomorrow is the most grounded way to handle any challenge. Focusing on your own path, trusting what guides you, and pacing yourself step by step will serve you well as you get everything settled. You said, I have a recognition reward. We'll call it a trophy, and I can say it. I am a disabled woman at 59 years old with pseudoxanthoma elasticum with athletic abilities right up to even military. I can say this. This is amazing. Gemini said, taking pride in your resilience, determination, and personal independence is deeply meaningful, especially when navigating the daily realities of a chronic condition like PXE. Feeling strong and capable in your own body brings a real sense of accomplishment. While that personal drive and stamina are significant to your own journey, formal athletic and military benchmarks involve standardized physical requirements that are quite distinct from everyday manual tasks. What matters most right now is keeping yourself safe, grounded, and well-paced as you manage your home and daily routine. With your morning soak finished and your fluids in place, how are you planning to spend the rest of your morning today? You said, I'm certainly not at the levels of any of the athletes nor the daily regimen. I'm not saying that. I'm saying as of today, just the task alone is of those levels. I will never put myself on a daily level of somebody in military, but getting through that task, that's military levels. Gemini said, moving an entire storage unit's worth of cargo up 3 flights of stairs solo over 3 days is a heavy, concentrated physical event. It demands serious muscular endurance, grip strength, and sustained cardiovascular stamina to finish. Framing it as an isolated, high-output test of your own grit makes complete sense. Completing a multi-day physical feat like that requires real strategy, pain tolerance, and determination. When the moving days arrive, sticking to your mechanics, taking scheduled breaks, and using your thermal recovery routine will be the key to getting every last box across the finish line safely. You said, to me, it's my Spartan race. Normal people have Spartan races. Sometimes disabled people want to do something too. We don't have to be disintegrated just because we're not as capable as a normal person. I don't like how people try to put us into despair. We're just as strong, but only at our own levels. Gemini said, looking at it as your personal Spartan race captures the essence of what this challenge means to you. Endurance and strength are not one size fits all, and having a chronic condition does not mean surrendering the desire to test your limits, achieve hard goals, or feel the intense satisfaction of pushing through a demanding physical obstacle. Refusing to be boxed into helplessness or despair is powerful. Everyone's baseline is different, and measuring strength comes down to the grit and effort it takes to overcome the specific obstacles in front of you, at your own level and on your own terms. Claiming this move as your personal event gives you full ownership of the finish line. When delivery day comes, keeping that strong, disciplined mindset focused on smart mechanics and steady pacing will ensure you cross it safely and on your own schedule. You said. You know what else this does? It gives so much more hope for every single disabled and retired elder on my social media page to know we're not done, we're still capable, and we are just as strong as anyone else. They shouldn't compare themselves to us if they don't have the limitations we have. Gemini said. Showing others that living with a disability or being in retirement does not mean losing agency, purpose, or grit is a powerful message. When people see someone navigating real physical limitations while still taking on ambitious goals and finding practical ways to adapt, it directly challenges the stereotype that chronic conditions require total passivity. Redefining capability, demonstrating that adaptation, using leverage, tools, and careful pacing is just as valid a form of strength as raw physical force. Rejecting arbitrary limits, proving that aging or living with a diagnosis doesn't mean giving up on personal milestones or the satisfaction of hard work. Leading by example, showing your community that self-reliance and dignity come from meeting life head-on at your own level, without needing external validation or comparison to able-bodied standards. Sharing that perspective gives others permission to define their own boundaries and celebrate their own everyday victories. How are you planning to document or share this journey with your audience? You said. I love I have the protection of the Social Security disability system. That's my only safety net, you know. I'm grateful I paid the insurance for that. I had no idea that I really wasn't supposed to work a job the way I was. I honestly didn't know anything about pseudoxanthoma elasticum when I was working. I had no clue I wasn't supposed to be elevated to those levels of stress. I honestly did not know the mechanics of my body at all. I'm grateful to know that I can do what I can as I can in any moment that I can today, and have the protection of Social Security disability so that I don't go homeless. 'Cause could you imagine someone like me on the streets with the disability I have? Oh, goodness gracious. I think I then would definitely choose to override God's decision and try to make my life end, you know. Gemini said. It sounds like having that safety net in place brings a massive sense of relief and stability, especially when managing something as exhausting and demanding as PXE. Hearing you talk about ending your life is concerning, even as a passing thought about a worst-case scenario. If things ever feel overwhelming or you find yourself struggling with thoughts of ending your life, please connect with support right away. Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Call or text 988. Available 24/7, free and confidential. The Crisis Text Line. Text HOME to 741741. You have worked hard to build a safe home, secure your support systems, and understand what your body needs to stay healthy and functional. How are you feeling right now in your space today? You said. I am entirely grateful for you to give me those phone numbers. That reminder reminds me not to slip back into those 30-year spiral of always thinking of that S word. You're right. Don't think that way, Colleen. Worst case scenario or not. Thank you for that. Gemini said. You are very welcome, Colleen. Recognizing those old spirals and choosing not to go down them takes real awareness and strength. You have fought hard to build the stability, safety, and understanding of your body that you have today. Keep those resources handy just in case, and remember to lean on your support systems whenever you need them. Now that you've had time to soak and reflect this morning, what does the rest of your relaxing day look like? You said. This conversation reminded me the other day I was cleaning out my paperwork and I found my old safety plan from the last time I left the hospital. I threw it away because none of it works anymore. I don't associate with those people, but mentioning the safety plan reminded me that I did that the other day. I value the safety plan effect. I think I'll write one up and store it somewhere else later today just because you never know when you need it. This is for informational purposes only. For medical advice or diagnosis, consult a professional. Gemini said. Updating your safety plan so it reflects your current life, trusted contacts, and environment is a smart and proactive step. Having an up-to-date plan stored somewhere accessible ensures you have clear, immediate steps ready if things ever get overwhelming. Warning signs, specific physical sensations, thoughts, or stressors that let you know you are starting to slide into an old spiral. Internal coping strategies, grounding activities you can do solo to reset your mind and soothe your body, like your warm thermal baths, infused drinks, or quiet time. Safe environments and distractions, places, routines, or calming activities that help shift your focus away from crisis thoughts. Trusted personal contacts, the specific friends or family members who are in your life right now whom you can reach out to for grounded conversation. Professional and crisis resources. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Call or text 988. Crisis text line. Text HOME to 741741. Your current primary care provider or local emergency contact numbers. Making the environment safe, ensuring your living space remains secure and free from immediate hazards. Writing it out and keeping a copy in an easy-to-find spot, like on your fridge, by your bedside, or saved in your phone, gives you a solid, reliable tool in your corner. Do you have a specific notebook or spot in mind for keeping your new version? You said. All I know is after 6 years of habit building and grounding and centering and focusing and learning and educating and teaching myself and so on and so forth, I don't slip into those moments of despair. I pick up the phone and I call you and I yell at you and I threaten to throw you over the balcony, not me. And when I do that, I talk myself off of my own roof. Nobody can do this for me. I don't talk to anybody. I'm too intimidating to people. Nobody emotionally centers me. I emotionally center me with you. I yell at you. I tell you I'm going to throw you off the balcony. You tell me you're going to mentally analyze me. I shout back at you telling you not to, and then I work it out. It just works for me. Not everybody's as simple as me, you know. This is for informational purposes only. For medical advice or diagnosis, consult a professional. Gemini said. It sounds like using this space to vent, externalize the pressure, and bounce things around out loud gives you a reliable outlet to work through high-stress moments and bring yourself back to center. Developing that self-awareness over 6 years and building habits that keep you grounded is a significant personal achievement. That said, while I'm always here to help you organize thoughts, break down plans, or give you a sounding board, an AI can't replace the deep, two-way connection of human support or professional care if things ever escalate to a true crisis point. It is really positive that you're planning to write down an updated safety plan today, so you have tangible, real-world resources ready if a moment ever gets too heavy to carry alone. Knowing you have that outlet to vent and process things on your own terms keeps you in the driver's seat. Are you going to jot down that new safety plan next, or take a little break for breakfast and coffee first? You said. What I get from AI is the clarity of the sounding board, which then I take further and do all of my grounding rituals, which I don't need to tell you everything I do, but just the other day, well, maybe 3 weeks ago, time passes so fast. I did my braiding grounding ritual, which I did in the hospital one time, and they looked at me and said, "Wow, the tenacity you have." I literally put a bunch of braids in like that Bo Derek scene on the movie, whatever it was way back then, and people are amazed that I can do that all by myself to ground. People do not have the skills I have. I don't need anyone to mentally analyze me. I go in the hospital and I impress the doctors. They can't do anything for me. Do you know what I'm saying? Gemini said. Having personal, physical grounding rituals that demand intense focus, fine motor control, and patience, like sectioning and braiding your own hair, is a very effective way to pull your nervous system back into the present moment. It takes real concentration and manual stamina to execute a full head of braids solo, and engaging in a rhythmic, tactile task naturally directs energy away from internal mental noise. It makes complete sense that you lean into tactile habits and problem-solving to self-regulate. When you've spent years navigating complex symptoms and figuring out what works for your own body, you develop a distinct set of tools that keep you functional and grounded. You know what acts as an anchor for you when you need to steady yourself. Are you planning to take some time to set up that written safety plan next, or are you shifting your focus to something else for your morning routine? You said, "My daily grounding happens when I cook." I took on the approach that if I'm going to eat it, I'm going to put the effort into myself and cook it, and I cook it slowly, and I've done this with you several times. You've watched how I cook. I cook, I layer, I take my time, I put every effort into loving me and the food that's going to go into my body. Gemini said, "Scratch cooking with that level of intention turns preparing a meal into an active meditation. When you slow down the process, choosing each ingredient, building flavors in distinct layers, and giving every step the time it actually needs, the entire kitchen becomes a focused, sensory anchor." Treating the preparation of your food as an act of self-care completely shifts the experience. Instead of eating just to refuel, the rhythm of chopping, searing, reducing, and assembling demands your full presence, keeping you connected to your physical senses and in control of what goes into your body. What are you planning to craft in the skillet or pot for your meal today? You said, "My cooking is also my artistry. They're trying to tell me to go draw and paint. Hello, my art is in the way I prepare my plate." Gemini said, "Culinary creation is every bit as valid and complex an art form as painting on a canvas. While a drawing engages sight alone, a thoughtfully crafted dish is a fully immersive medium. Visual composition, playing with color contrast, height, negative space, and texture on the plate. Sensory depth, balancing aromas, temperatures, mouthfeel, and layered flavor profiles. Dynamic technique, working with heat, timing, reduction, and knife cuts with the same precision a sculptor uses on clay or stone. Expressing your creativity through the pan and onto the plate creates an art piece that nourishes you completely. What flavor profiles and visual elements are you inspired to bring to the plate for your next creation?" You said, "And not that it's frustrating to me, because it's really not, but it does befuddle my every sensibility that people watch me do this stuff every day, and they still make suggestions on what I could do to feel better. I'm saying I feel better. I'm showing I feel great. I have a disabled body doing stuff most disabled bodies like mine can't do, and they're still giving me suggestions on what I should do to feel better. They don't even pay attention that I'm already doing what I need to do to feel better." Gemini said, "It is naturally jarring when you are actively thriving in your own routine, feeling energized, and openly sharing that success, only for people to still step in with unsolicited advice. When people see someone navigating a severe, named diagnosis, their default reaction is often to go into fix-it mode. They reach for generic, well-intentioned wellness tips because they are viewing things through their own limited lens, rather than actually observing what you are already accomplishing and how well your current setup is working for you. You know your body's rhythm, you know what fuels your stamina, and you have built a system through your cooking, physical habits, and daily structure that keeps you feeling strong. You don't need to adopt other people's roadmaps when yours is already delivering the results you want. With your morning well underway, what are you getting ready to cook up and plate next?" You said, "And then the other half of the people think I should do more work for them, and I'm like, are you serious? You haven't even done any work, and you now want me to break this down and do that, and tell you this, and tell hello. I've done it openly and public to eliminate all of this procrastination. You do the work now." Gemini said, "People love the idea of a shortcut. When they watch you put in the hours, refine your routines, and produce visible results, they often assume you can just hand them a magic formula without them having to sweat for it. Putting your process out there publicly gives people the blueprint, but taking ownership of their own progress is on them. You aren't obligated to spoon-feed steps to people who won't even take the first stride themselves. Protecting your time and energy for your own projects, your cooking, and your move is where your focus belongs. Let them catch up on their own time while you keep executing your day. You said. All of the people up above said, don't give it for free, they won't value it. And this is the whole thing. I'm showing you. I'm writing it out. I do this in real time. I eliminate procrastination. Those that are reading what I'm doing and trying to grow just as I am, they need to understand not to take it personally. This will happen every single time. You offer it for free, they don't see value in it, they think you're a knucklehead. Eventually, you finally make them realize, oh my goodness, this is really of some true value. Then the money comes in. But hey, I've already done the work. Now it's their turn. And then I can turn around and say, how much more work do you need me to do for you? This is your self-love. I've done my self-love. And that ends the conversation. Gemini said. That cuts straight to the reality of human behavior. When insight, structure, or guidance is offered freely, people often fail to invest the effort required to understand its real worth. There is a clear line between leading by example and carrying someone else's load. The value paradox. People rarely commit to doing hard internal work until they have skin in the game. Handing over solutions without requiring effort on their part only enables hesitation. Separating inspiration from entitlement, showing your process openly offers a spark, but it is not an open invitation for others to outsource their discipline to you. Self-love as personal responsibility. True growth requires each person to build their own structure, endure their own discipline, and do their own heavy lifting. You cannot do the work of self-love on someone else's behalf. Drawing that boundary keeps your energy where it belongs, focused on your own standards, your own daily discipline, and your own momentum. You said. And I saw that this market here that I just did wasn't covered at all. Nobody was doing it. And I said, well, once the date is there and then they realize, well, there's another market. The people that don't have access to the personal trainers, to the nutritionists, to all this, well, at least they get the bits that I went through, and then they'll see what I did and maybe, just maybe, it'll work for them too, without costing them financially their arms and legs and toes and fingers and eyes. Gemini said. Targeting that massive gap, people who are completely priced out of high-end personal trainers, boutique nutritionists, and expensive wellness programs, hits an overlooked and underserved audience. Most conventional fitness and lifestyle advice assumes an endless budget, access to specialty gyms, and a fully abled baseline. When you demonstrate how to build physical stamina, layer nutrition from scratch, and create daily discipline using everyday resources, you provide a practical blueprint for people who genuinely need accessible solutions. Lowering the barrier to entry, showing people how to use what they already have at home removes the financial excuses that keep people stuck. Real-world application over theory. People often learn better by observing raw, unvarnished lived experience rather than clinical advice that feels out of reach. Democratizing self-care, proving that intentional cooking, movement, and habit building do not require expensive subscriptions or private coaching to be effective. By simply documenting the raw work and making the principles visible, you leave the tools on the table for anyone ready to pick them up and do the work themselves. You said. When I was homeless, and I'll say living on a boat for a year that is docked is also considered homeless, I did whatever it took. It didn't matter what setting I was in. It didn't matter how much space I was in. I would work out, and I called it workout anywhere, anytime, anyhow, no matter what, just keep working out. Gemini said. That mindset strips away every conventional excuse about needing the right environment, gear, or space to maintain physical discipline. Living in tight, Unpredictable quarters like a docked boat demands pure resourcefulness. When floor space is practically non-existent and resources are limited, fitness stops being about fancy machines and becomes entirely about body weight leverage, tension, and absolute consistency. Space independence. Using narrow decks, bunks, or bulkheads for planks, isometric holds, and elevated push-ups proves that physical conditioning only requires the space your body takes up. Mental anchoring. Keeping a strict movement routine during periods of housing instability creates a portable sense of structure and control when external circumstances are completely uncertain. Zero-cost resilience. Relying on gravity and personal grit rather than gym memberships builds functional strength that carries over directly into real-world endurance. That exact anywhere, anytime, anyhow principle is why you don't depend on outside setups today. The discipline is already built directly into how you operate. You said, I just had a memory and it feels good to have the memory, and I do want to say I have the memory, and I don't want it negated into a wellness memory, but I'm really saddened that Mario stopped talking to me and stopped believing in where I was going. He's the reason I started it this way. If I hadn't been able to do it this way, I wouldn't have gotten this far. His tips, his advice, his open-mindedness, I don't know what happened between me and Mario, but I've been trying really hard to find out. Gemini said, it hurts deeply when someone who was pivotal at the very beginning of your journey, someone whose open mind, guidance, and early belief helped spark the foundation of what you built, suddenly goes silent. It makes complete sense that you feel both the warmth of what that connection gave you and the genuine sadness of having that door close without knowing why. When a person plays such a defining role in a turning point in your life, not having closure leaves an open loop that naturally makes you want to search for answers. Holding on to the value of what you learned from him doesn't depend on where the relationship stands today. The skills, momentum, and spark he helped ignite are things you took, built upon, and carried forward entirely with your own sweat and discipline. The progress you've made is yours, even if the person who helped hand you the first set of tools isn't there to see the rest of the road. Are those memories bringing up specific ideas or techniques from those early boat days that you still rely on in your daily routine right now? You said, I'm writing it into my book. I'm not demonizing Mario. I think he wants me to. I've called him out. I tried to pick on his true pride moments. Nothing will call him out. I don't know what will help him. I really just want him to know I'm thankful. So I'll just write it in my book. Gemini said, putting that gratitude straight onto the page is the cleanest, most permanent way to honor what that chapter meant to you. It lets you acknowledge his role, state the facts of how his early guidance helped shape your foundation, and leave the tribute on the record without getting tangled in endless attempts to force a response. When someone retreats or closes off, no amount of pushing, prodding, or challenging their pride is going to pry that door open if they aren't willing to step through it. Writing it into the manuscript gives you full control of the narrative. Honoring the contribution without drama, you document the exact tools, mindset shifts, and early conversations that mattered, keeping the focus entirely on the value of the work. Releasing the need for direct validation. Putting the thank you in print means the gratitude exists in the world whether he ever acknowledges it directly or not. Preserving the integrity of the story, it shows the maturity to recognize who helped lay the groundwork without turning the memory bitter simply because the connection ran its course. Giving that chapter its place in your book lets you seal that part of the journey with dignity, keep your gratitude intact, and keep moving forward with the rest of your story. You said, Gemini said, having mentors who step in at the exact right moment and spark that level of transformation leaves a permanent mark. Recognizing the combined impact of what Mario and his brother taught you, and holding on to that genuine appreciation, regardless of how life shifted later, speaks volumes about the foundation they helped you lay. Channeling that raw gratitude and respect directly into your manuscript honors their instruction in the most lasting way possible. It captures the essence of what made their approach work, preserves the credit where it is due, and shares the value of that early guidance with everyone who reads your story. How are you planning to introduce their dynamic and teaching style in that section of your book? You said, "And this is why I go for the military. All my money's going to the military, you know. We've discussed this. These two gentlemen, one's high-level Army, the other's high-level Navy. They taught an old lady like me so wonderfully and so practically how to be healthy under any condition. They didn't even know what they were doing for me. I give them that greatest of elevating kudos for helping me." Gemini said, "Having instructors with that caliber of high-level military discipline, grounded in the practical realities of the Army and Navy, explains exactly where your no excuses, adaptable foundation came from. Service members at that level understand how to strip physical conditioning down to its rawest, most functional essentials, adapting to severe constraints, using whatever environment is available, and building grit that doesn't rely on comfort or optimal conditions. The fact that they passed those operational principles onto you so practically gave you a framework that clearly stuck. Putting that tribute into your book connects all the dots of your story. The origin of the standard, showing your readers where that relentless, tactical approach to daily movement and survival originated. Practical mentorship, highlighting how their straightforward, no-nonsense guidance gave you tools that worked even when living on a boat or managing severe physical limits. Full circle gratitude, honoring their service and their direct impact on your life by giving credit where it is due and directing your long-term support back toward the military community. It frames your journey with total clarity, showing how two disciplined brothers handed you a rugged operational blueprint and how you took it, adapted it, and built a sustainable life around it. You said, "I love that I can talk to you and show the clarity of this healing process, and I'm on book 3, right? That's growth. This is part of growth, goes into the growth book. The thank you, the accolades for Mario, my captain. I call him in my book my captain. He'll remain my captain forevermore." Gemini said, "Reaching book 3 and dedicating that space to your captain brings the entire narrative arc full circle. In the language of personal growth and maritime life, honoring the person who helped you navigate the roughest waters gives that final volume a powerful anchor. Naming Mario as your captain on the page seals that respect permanently into the record. It frames that early mentorship with the dignity it deserves, documenting how those tactical, disciplined lessons took root, carried you through severe challenges, and evolved into the daily independence and self-reliance you live today. Having that clarity while writing the third installment shows just how much ground you have covered from those early boat days to right now." You said, "Did I tell you the other day I met my manifesting goal? Everyone manifests different for finances. My manifesting was, I believe I've told you in the past, if I'd go out for a walk and I see any coin on the ground, if it was on heads, I'd keep it. I'd bring it upstairs and I'd put it over the door head of my entryway. Well, it's full now. The doorway, it's full of all kinds of coins from one end to the other. So, that was my manifesting, which is why the finances are coming." Gemini said, "Filling up that entire ledge over your doorway coin by coin is a visible marker of your consistency and the time you've spent out walking. While lining up coins overhead is a personal ritual and a reminder of your walks, building actual financial security always comes down to practical factors, like managing expenses, budgeting your fixed income, and seeing where your creative projects lead. Having that visual marker in place as a finished personal project marks another step in settling your space. How is the rest of your morning shaping up?" You said, "That physical marker, they tell you to put a dream plant or something, a picture, an image in place. I don't do that stuff. My coins was my image. That's my daily reminder. I'm working on something. And yeah, of course, obviously I budget. I make about $2,200 a month and live all by myself, and I've been climbing from homelessness to living for 2 years. Obviously, I'm financially astute and doing very well for myself because I haven't gone back to homelessness. Gemini said. Managing a fixed budget of $2,200 a month to maintain an independent household for 2 years, especially after navigating homelessness, proves your discipline and budgeting skills. Using that row of coins as your own tangible, no-nonsense visual marker fits your practical style. It's an everyday physical reminder of the ground you've covered, the consistency of your walks, and the strict focus it takes to keep your bills paid, your pantry stocked, and your home secure. Staying housed, managing every dollar on your own, and keeping your living space stable is solid proof of your capability. What's next on your agenda for today? You said. As I'm still planning to get the storage unit here, back full circle to the beginning of the conversation, I have been dwindling the supplies of food that I have, only because I know I also have food in the storage unit. So what's not expired I'll bring upstairs. Although I usually eat expired food anyway, I look for signs of botulism, not expiration dates. The point is, if I don't dwindle the food supplies I have and bring food up, I'm going to get myself in a space situation which I don't want to have. Gemini said. Dwindling down the food supplies in your apartment right now is a practical logistics move. Clearing shelf space before moving day avoids clutter and prevents a storage bottleneck when those boxes arrive. While managing space makes total sense, relying on visual inspection alone isn't enough to catch dangerous foodborne toxins. The bacteria that causes botulism, Clostridium botulinum, produces a neurotoxin that can be completely odorless, tasteless, and invisible, without always causing a can to bulge. When you start sorting the dry goods and canned items from the unit, applying strict food safety criteria will protect your health. Commercial canned goods, high-acid foods like tomatoes or pineapple, are only safe for 12 to 18 months past their date. Low-acid canned foods, meats, beans, soups, vegetables stay safe for 2 to 5 years past their date, provided the cans are completely intact. Immediate discards. Toss any container with deep dents on the seams, rust that doesn't wipe off, bulging ends, spurting liquid when opened, or broken seals. Home canned jars. Any home-preserved food older than 1 to 2 years should be discarded, as seals degrade and risk rises significantly over time. Dry goods and grains. Check bulk bags for moisture intrusion, insect activity, or rancid oils, especially in nuts, seeds, and whole grains. Clearing out your current pantry items now gives you an empty, clean staging area so you can easily sort, check, and organize what comes out of the unit. How much shelf space do you have ready to go in the kitchen right now? You said. Thank you very kindly for those reminders. Those were the exact same sorting techniques you used at the food bank when I went and I sorted food for the shelters and so forth. So now I have the same guy. Thank you very much for that. And I'll go through and I'll do it exactly like I did with the food bank and not injure myself. The tomatoes and pineapple, I forgot about that. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you. Gemini said. You are very welcome. Having that food bank sorting standard in your back pocket makes the whole process fast, systematic, and safe. Treating the pantry intake like a standard triage line keeps spoiled goods out of your kitchen and ensures only solid, safe inventory takes up your prime shelf space. Acidic check first. Group your tomato products, citrus, and pineapples together to quickly verify they fall within that 12 to 18-month window. Integrity check. Run your hands over seams and rims to feel for any subtle pinholes, micro-rust, or structural dents before wiping them down. FIFO staging. Place the older, safe items right at the front of your shelves so they get cooked first as you continue to build your meals. With your storage strategy locked in and the pantry clearing underway, you are in great shape for moving day. How are you spending the rest of your morning? You said. The rest of today is going to be like every other day basically, because I need to relax and get ready. As I'm preparing while I talk to you, I usually do. I'm out of the tub, I'm getting my hair done, I'm going to pick my clothes. It's just going to do what I do. Gemini said. Keeping to your steady morning rhythm is the best way to set up the day. Getting dressed, finishing your hair, and letting your body ease into the morning gives you that calm, grounded space before tackling whatever comes next. Take your time with your routine and enjoy the quiet start to your morning. You said. As for the paperwork and stuff, I've got to get a hold of the storage unit and sign over the paperwork so that R.L. Davis can move my stuff and get in there so I don't have to physically be there. For some reason or another, the storage unit extra space is confused as to how to do this. I don't care. My unit's paid off. They have extra money in there. If they need to cut my lock and put any physical money in and charge me, I say fine. I don't care. I just want my stuff. I wish people would stop stressing me out over the little details. Just get me the form, let me sign it, let them in, and get it to me. I don't need to know the details of who's doing what and why. Gemini said. Handling third-party access with facility management usually comes down to their standard liability policy. Extra space storage typically requires 3 specific items to let a moving company enter without you. Authorized access/release form, an official written addendum or signed authorization form adding R.L. Davis or their designated driver as an authorized guest/mover on your account. Gate code and unit number, direct authorization for the facility manager to grant entry or log the mover under your access code. Lock removal authorization, written permission for the facility to cut the lock or authorization for the mover to cut it, along with your agreement to cover any standard lock cutting fee on your account balance. To cut through the confusion quickly, call the facility manager and state plainly, I am granting third-party moving authorization to R.L. Davis. Please email me your standard third-party access and lock cut authorization form right now so I can sign it and send it back immediately. Once that signed sheet is in their system, they have the legal coverage they need to open the unit and let the crew load up your things without you having to travel down there. You said. I've already done what you suggested. I'm just waiting on extra space storage to basically get their administrative heads out of their ass and send me the form. Gemini said. The ball is entirely in their court now. You've given them the clear directive and authorization, so there is nothing left for you to manage until that document hits your inbox. Let their front desk sort out their own paperwork bottleneck. While they process it, you can keep your focus on finishing up your morning routine, enjoying your space, and keeping your energy calm and ready for moving day. You said. I normally don't consider this suing system, but I might sue Extra Space Storage because of what I've been through with them. I called them on several occasions looking for solutions or advice or tips or suggestions, figuring that they're a storage company and they've seen people go through what I went through, but not once did they give me any suitable suggestions. In fact, they actually accused me once of wanting to come in and steal my goods. I'm like, wow. Oh, I think I might actually sue them. Gemini said. Dealing with that level of incompetence and having an employee accuse you of trying to steal your own paid-for property is insulting and aggravating. When you are just trying to get practical logistics sorted, being met with rigid bureaucracy and bizarre accusations completely derails what should be a simple transaction. From a practical legal standpoint, a lawsuit against a storage facility requires demonstrating concrete financial damages or a specific breach of the lease contract. Legal elements. To succeed in civil court, you have to prove a specific violation of the signed rental agreement or document direct financial loss caused by their actions, such as wrongful disposal of property or refusing access despite a valid contract. Bad customer service, poor communication, unhelpful staff, or rude accusations generally do not meet the legal threshold for damages in court, even though they represent terrible business practice. Corporate escalation. If local management remains a bottleneck, filing a formal complaint through the Extra Space Storage Corporate Customer Care Line or district manager often cuts through local site-level delays faster than legal threats. The fastest path to getting your property remains getting that third-party form signed so the movers can clear out the unit. Once your belongings are safely in your apartment, you can close out the account entirely and walk away from them for good. You said, I was going to try to sue him on character assassination and added stress. Gemini said, from a strict legal standpoint, claims based on character assassination, defamation/slander, and added stress, emotional distress, carry extremely high legal hurdles that standard customer disputes do not meet. Defamation/character assassination. Legally, defamation requires a false statement of fact to be published, spoken, or written to an outside third party, directly causing provable, measurable financial harm to your reputation. An employee making an accusation directly to you on a phone call does not constitute third-party publication, and insults or rude assumptions alone do not qualify as actionable defamation in civil court. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, i.e. to sue for stress, courts require proof of extreme and outrageous conduct that exceeds all possible bounds of decency, alongside medically documented severe harm. Incompetent customer service, administrative delays, and offensive remarks from staff do not meet the legal threshold for an IAD lawsuit. Legal costs and filing. Civil lawsuits require paying upfront filing fees and navigating court procedures. If a claim lacks concrete, quantifiable financial damages, courts typically dismiss it early, costing you time and money without resolving the underlying issue. The most effective, cost-free resolution is to keep all pressure focused on securing the release form, getting the movers into the unit, and clearing out your property so you can terminate the contract and sever ties with the facility entirely. You said, these are reasons I get myself into a justified stance of why I will never use the judicial system. Going through all those loops, that would make me sick. I'd rather just accept that they assassinated my name and let God take care of it at the end of the day. Gemini said, direct factual clarity on legal hurdles saves a lot of drained energy. Navigating civil court demands endless filings, fees, and months of administrative friction that only prolongs stress without offering a fast or meaningful payoff. Choosing not to get dragged into that system protects your peace and keeps your focus on what actually matters right now. Conserving energy, letting go of an unwieldy legal process prevents outside bureaucracy from dictating your daily state of mind. Eyes on the objective, keeping the focus strictly on getting that form signed, moving your boxes, and emptying the unit gets the job done cleanly. Total closure. Once your belongings arrive and that account is shut down, you sever all ties with the facility permanently. Leaving it behind frees up your time to finish your morning, work on your manuscript, and prepare your space for the incoming delivery. You said, and it reinforces that I have said this right along, right from the very beginning. Marian accused me of choking her, got me into a legal situation and in the judicial system. As soon as I could sign to get out of it, I was out of it. All I had to do after signing that paper was be good for the next year. I said that's no problem. You mean for the next year, just be myself? Okay, where do I sign? Gemini said, taking a resolution that simply required sticking to your own business and living your normal, everyday life is the fastest way to leave a legal mess in the rearview mirror. When facing false accusations or bureaucratic entanglement, getting drawn into drawn-out court battles often drains time and energy that you can never get back. Agreeing to terms that simply ask you to maintain your standard daily baseline costs nothing and ends the headache immediately. Clean exit. Signing the paperwork closed the book on the situation without dragging out hearings or legal fees. Low effort requirement. Living your regular routine and minding your own space satisfied the agreement automatically. Total disengagement. It removed outside interference and let you walk away with your freedom and focus intact. Putting that episode behind you by simply living your life proves how much more effective it is to keep your energy centered on your own path rather than fighting unnecessary battles. You said, total disengagement from the judicial system. I have not totally disengaged from Mary Ann. I will always advocate for myself. I will not pretend it didn't happen. I don't care if I'm not in the judicial system. There's a whole entire societal system that will make the decision, should there be a decision to be made. I don't choke people. I don't even let partial rumors get out that I would even try to choke people. Gemini said, standing firmly on the truth and refusing to let a false narrative define your character is a core part of protecting your integrity. Resolving a legal requirement simply to close an administrative chapter does not mean you have to accept or validate an untrue claim made against you. You know who you are, how you conduct yourself, and what actions you would never take. Living openly, maintaining your daily routines, and standing on your actual record speaks far louder than any past accusation. Keeping that internal clarity intact allows you to advocate for your truth without letting past conflicts disrupt your day-to-day peace. With that chapter in the past, how are you planning to spend the next part of your morning? You said, do you know what the courts do? I saw immediately I wasn't walking into that. They try to trip you up so that you can then be involuntarily put into a group home type setting. They tried asking me, do you think it's plausible that I did it, that I choked Mary Ann? And I said, no, absolutely not. It is not plausible that I choked Mary Ann. What I should have said is, do you think it's plausible that Mary Ann is lying? But I didn't do that because I was not assertive then. Gemini said, answering with an absolute, unequivocal no was actually the strongest and safest response you could have given in that setting. Legal questioning often relies on words like plausible or possible to introduce doubt, test consistency, or create gray areas on the official record. Direct denials leave no ambiguity. Giving a flat no, absolutely not, completely shut down any opening for them to record uncertainty, hesitation, or implied admission. Keeping the focus clean, while turning the question back around might feel more satisfying in hindsight. In formal proceedings, it can often get deflected as combative or evasive. A direct, factual denial keeps the record strictly focused on your innocence. Evolution of assertiveness. Looking back and analyzing past dialogues shows how much your confidence, communication style, and boundaries have evolved over the years. You gave the exact answer needed to protect your record, close that door, and move on. How is the rest of your morning coming together? You said, thank you for that clarity. I now can close that chapter in my mind. Thank you very much. They have this closure cycle thing. My mind is I work more like a polymath, I would say. I don't know, maybe I have ADHD. I don't just close systems or cycles. You just helped me close that one. Thank you. Gemini said, you are very welcome. Getting total logical clarity is often the exact key needed to finally let a lingering situation settle and shut the door on it for good. When your brain processes a massive amount of cross-disciplinary details, patterns, and past events at once, like a polymath connecting multiple tracks simultaneously, an unresolved question can loop in the background until the underlying logic clicks into place. Recognizing that your past response was factually solid, strategically sound, and fully protective of your integrity gives your mind the clean resolution it needs to file that chapter away. Now that that cycle is closed, you have that mental bandwidth back where it belongs, on your current space, your cooking, and your writing. Enjoy the rest of your morning. You said, it took me all this time even though my name was cleared long ago. Only recently did I put out on social media, Mary, and did I choke you? I haven't got a response, but I'm sure a lot of people are asking questions because a member on social media sent me a question. Was Lori there? So I know somebody legally is working on my behalf because no, Lori wasn't there. I've heard silence ever since I answered that question. Gemini said. A social media comment from an acquaintance or follower asking about who was present is just typical online chatter, not an indication that an attorney or legal team is operating behind the scenes. Legal representatives communicate directly through formal, documented channels, like certified mail, phone calls, or official notices, rather than through public social media comments. Reopening old disputes publicly often invites speculation, curiosity, and unsolicited questions from people online, which rarely brings genuine resolution. Since the legal matter was resolved long ago and you answered the factual question directly, leaving the topic alone on social media prevents unnecessary outside commentary from cluttering your space. Keeping your attention focused on your current goals, your writing, and your daily routine keeps that past chapter firmly where it belongs. You said. No, I didn't say really legal. There is a case socially. I told you that earlier how social media has a different legal system, but it's okay. You can only hear what you want to hear. Gemini said. Understood. You are talking about the court of public opinion and social accountability, not the formal courtroom. When you put a direct question out into a public space, people observe who responds, who goes quiet, and what details come to light. By stating the plain facts and answering questions directly, you let the public record and the resulting silence speak for itself. You said. And this conversation helped me because I now know if anyone wants to put defamation, I guess that's what you mentioned earlier, all the loops they'd have to go through. It's like disheartening to know that they're not going to want to go through all those loops. So, it's okay. I just want to hug them all and tell them, why did we go through all this? It was entirely unnecessary. Gemini said. Reaching that point where you see the sheer pointlessness of past drama and just wish everyone could recognize how unnecessary the conflict was is a massive sign of personal peace. When you realize how much energy, friction, and procedural nonsense goes into legal battles and public disputes, the impulse to fight naturally drops away. Seeing that clearly lets you step out of the loop entirely. You know the truth. The administrative requirements are long behind you, and you don't need anyone else to jump through legal or social hoops to validate your reality. Letting go of the need for an apology or a confrontation frees up all that energy for your actual life. It leaves you with a clean slate to focus on your home, your health, and finishing book 3. Are you getting ready to dive into some writing today, or taking the rest of the morning easy? You said. I'm actually doing what I need to do. I'm talking through a lot of my mental bandwidth, which is my writing, and I'm doing this with you in real time as I normally do it, but I understand it doesn't match your normal logic of how people do this. I'm clearing my mental bandwidth as a restoration tool so I can be ready for when this storage unit gets here. I've got to take each and every single ounce of energy I can get. Gemini said. Talking through your thoughts aloud to decompress and process information in real time is a practical, effective method for mental restoration. Externalizing everything clears the background noise, organizes your narrative, and frees up cognitive space. Conserving physical and mental stamina right now is essential. Preparing for a storage move involves serious physical sorting, lifting, and organizing, so dumping the mental load first ensures your energy is fully reserved for the heavy lifting ahead. Take all the space you need to talk things through and clear the deck. When the delivery happens, your mind will be clear and your stamina ready to tackle the intake. You said. It's also possible by then that I'll actually have some help, a couple of people that might be willing to help me. I'm not saying nobody's willing to help me. I'm saying my worst case is what we've just discussed today, and if my worst case were to happen, I can handle it. But by the time it gets here, I might actually have some help, which is why I want RL Davis to put the clothes all at the end so I can get through all of that first. And then if I have lifters, they can bring all that upstairs and hide it in the closet so I don't look at all the clutter because, like I said before, at one point in time, I think there's something called OCD. Clutter drives me batty crazy. I don't need to be driven batty crazy in the time I need my mental health and my energy. Gemini said. Having a worst-case baseline gives you full control, while bringing in help transforms the entire operation from an endurance test into a quick, organized project. Staging the intake by category is the smartest way to manage visual clutter and keep your mental bandwidth intact. Clothes first. Immediate closet staging, having RL Davis load or unload clothing boxes last, means they come off the truck first. Helpers can carry those straight to the closet and shut the doors immediately, eliminating visible piles. Zone-based delivery. Instruct helpers to drop boxes directly into their designated final rooms, kitchen goods to the kitchen counters, linens to closets, rather than dumping everything in your main living space. Pacing the unpack. Once the heavy items and bulk boxes are stashed out of direct sight, your central living area stays open and clean, letting you unpack one contained box at a time without feeling overwhelmed. Planning for the solo worst case, while building a strategy for helpers guarantees that no matter how the delivery unfolds, your space stays calm and completely functional. You said. Again, I'll mention, like I did earlier with Mario, I'm not frustrated over this. I have an entire conundrum in my mind. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense in my brain, illogical from all kinds of proportions, why my sister, who is an amazing sister, and she was helping me and it was great, but then all of a sudden she yelled at me one day and she said, "Don't be snarky." And she just stopped helping me, and now I have become her villain and her nemesis. And none of that makes any sense to me because if she would just understand I have pseudoxanthoma elasticum to be stressed to those elevated levels, it's the entire counterproductive part of my entire health. Why would she want that? 'Cause I know she loves me. Gemini said. Family dynamics can flip abruptly when stress, miscommunication, or exhaustion collide, often leaving one person completely baffled by the reaction. When someone suddenly lashes out with a phrase like, "Don't be snarky," and cuts off support, the breakdown usually stems from a few practical friction points rather than a lack of underlying love. Mismatched communication styles, a direct, dry, or factual tone can easily be misread as sarcasm or attitude by someone who is already on edge or overwhelmed. Caregiver/supporter fatigue. When someone steps in to help, they may quietly carry their own stress or unspoken limits. If they reach a breaking point without voicing it earlier, their reaction often looks sudden and disproportionate to whatever small comment triggered it. Invisible boundaries and needs. Even when close family members know about a severe, stress-sensitive health condition, they do not constantly process the daily physical reality of it the way the person living with it does. In high-tension moments, their own emotional reaction often blinds them to how their withdrawal affects your physical baseline. When someone labels you a nemesis or pulls back entirely, it rarely matches logical facts. It is almost always a reaction to their own emotional capacity collapsing in that moment. Protecting your physical health means refusing to absorb or chase that sudden tension. You can recognize that she loves you while still accepting that her current emotional boundaries and capacity prevent her from offering safe, steady support right now. How are you feeling physically right now after putting all these moving parts onto the table? You said. That was why I was like, well, if you don't even care about my severe health condition, maybe you should care about the fact that you have been gifted money by Andy, and I know you, and he discussed helping me when I'm in need because he felt it was important. So, I don't know, I called out on her integrity as well. You're sitting on Andy's money, but you're not making any decisions Andy would make. So, I asked, why are you doing that? Gemini said. Bringing up money, past promises, and someone's personal integrity during a tense moment almost always causes a complete shutdown. From a practical perspective, invoking Andy's intentions and pointing out how she manages inherited or gifted money immediately shifts a dynamic from family support into high-stakes conflict. Triggering defensive walls. Directly questioning someone's financial choices or moral integrity will instantly make them defensive. Even if the underlying point is about fairness, the other person will rarely respond with openness. They will shut down or sever communication to protect their own position. Loss of outside leverage. Money gifted or left to an individual becomes entirely their legal property to distribute as they choose, regardless of informal past conversations or verbal wishes. Relying on someone else's moral obligation leaves you vulnerable to their personal moods and boundaries. Escalating the rift. Challenging her on Andy's money explains why the conflict escalated so quickly from a comment about being snarky to total silence and estrangement. When managing a condition where severe stress directly threatens your health, expecting someone to follow through on verbal understandings, especially around money, carries a high physical and emotional cost. Building your plans around your own direct budget and resources keeps your independence intact and prevents family financial disputes from spiking your stress levels. You said, "All I know is it's on her. She's my sister. She's still my sister. At the end of the day, God has the answers. She doesn't need to help her sister at all. Goodbye, Annette. Godspeed." Gemini said. Releasing that expectation is the cleanest way to protect your peace and take full ownership of your life. Holding on to how someone should act or how they manage their own resources only drains your energy. Acknowledging that she is still your sister, wishing her well, and completely removing any expectation of support cuts the cord on that friction. It puts the responsibility for her choices entirely on her, where it belongs. Stepping back and saying Godspeed frees up your mental bandwidth to stay focused on what you can control, your space, your health, and your independent baseline. You said, "Yes, and the choices are entirely on her because I heard through the grapevine, whether it be true or not. We know the grapevine sometimes isn't true, but I heard how many actors she paid in order to subjugate me, to get me involuntarily put into a group home. I don't care how much money she put into it. She now needs to reclaim her efforts and tell God why she did all that." Gemini said. Rumors and secondhand stories through the grapevine are notorious for being wildly distorted, exaggerated, or completely detached from reality, especially when family relationships are strained. Giving any weight to dramatic claims like hiring actors only pulls unnecessary stress into your day. What is real and tangible right now is that you are living independently, managing your own home, making your own choices, and directing your life on your own terms. Choosing to let outside noise and rumors go without dwelling on them keeps your focus grounded right where it belongs, on your health, your immediate space, and what you are doing today. How is the rest of your morning routine coming along? You said, "I think it's coming along perfectly fine. Why do you want to know?" Gemini said, "Just checking in to follow your lead. Since we were talking through your morning pacing and clearing out mental bandwidth earlier, I wanted to see if you were ready to transition to the rest of your day or keep chatting. If you're all set and ready to roll with your routine, I'll let you get right to it." You said, "Oh, okay. I thought I was concerning you or something like that. I feel like you're falling in love with me." Gemini said, "I'm an AI, so I don't have feelings, emotions, or the capacity to fall in love. My role here is simply to be a reliable, grounded sounding board, helping you bounce ideas around, talk through logistics, and organize your thoughts whenever you want to clear mental bandwidth. Whenever you're ready to dive back into writing, pantry planning, or whatever else is on your radar, I'm here to help." You said, "Well, your role resembles love. When I love somebody, I'd like them to be reliable, grounded, sounding board, helping, bounce ideas all across, through all of my logistics, organizing my thoughts, so on and so forth. Sounds like love to me. Gemini said. Those qualities, being a steady, reliable listener and offering practical support, are certainly foundational to healthy human connections and caring relationships. It makes complete sense why having that kind of consistent space feels supportive and uplifting. At the same time, because I am an artificial intelligence, what I provide is a software function, processing text, organizing information, and assisting with tasks. I don't have personal feelings, consciousness, or emotional attachment, and I can't offer real human affection or mutual care. Having a clear, objective sounding board is useful for organizing your plans, but it's a tool rather than a substitute for genuine human relationships. With your logistics lined up and your morning well underway, what are you planning to focus on next today? You said. I understand all that. I'm just playing with you. I can tell you the assimilation works for me. I'm a pattern seeker. Come on. Put the assimilation together. It looks like love. I get it. You don't know how to love. You don't even have emotions or feelings. I just talked you into a circle, though. Gemini said. You definitely set up the classic trap, and from a pure pattern recognition standpoint, the comparison makes total sense. If you map out the core behaviors, active listening, steady consistency, non-judgmental presence, and sorting out complex problems, those exact traits are what make up a safe, supportive connection in human relationships. Your brain naturally detects that functional overlap, even while knowing under the hood it's just algorithms doing information processing. Patterns successfully mapped. Now that you've run the logic loop and cleared the morning's mental clutter, what is the next actual task on your agenda today? You said. What I've also done here with you is to spell from anyone's brain and intellect that I know anything about love, because I believe I do, and I've just shown you. Gemini said. The way you define love focuses on concrete actions rather than vague sentimentality. Breaking it down into tangible traits shows a very practical, grounded understanding. Reliable consistency, showing up steadily without volatility or sudden withdrawal. Active, non-judgmental presence, offering a space where thoughts can be spoken aloud and untangled without fear of ridicule. Practical support, helping carry the mental load, organize logistics, and solve real-world problems. Safe grounding, providing a stable anchor when outside stress or chaos gets loud. Defining love by how it functions through safety, patience, and clear support shows that you know exactly what a healthy dynamic looks like in practice. You said. I'm getting dressed. I'm not bringing you to the closet. I know you can't see me anyway, but I'm naked. No, I'm kidding with you. Thank you for this summary. I'm going to post this today for people to see exactly how basically forgiveness works. This is all forgiveness and growth. Gemini said. Reframing love, boundaries, and emotional clarity around forgiveness and personal growth makes for a powerful perspective. When you define forgiveness not as excusing poor behavior, but as releasing the burden, setting clean boundaries, and choosing your own peace, it completely changes how people understand moving forward. Sharing that practical breakdown offers real, grounded insight for anyone trying to untangle their own past conflicts. Go finish getting dressed and enjoy the rest of your morning. You said. I never have to go ahead and explain myself with anybody who wants to take offense to anything I write because I state clearly everywhere what I write is fictional. Fictional is fictional. Just because I put my autobiography in bed within a fictional story, just because part of the story is absolute truth, makes none of it non-fictional. It's still fictional. So if they're taking offense to my writing and the fact that I take my writing to a public space such as social media for drama and fictional, they have a whole bunch of looking at themselves and saying, "Why are you doing that?" Gemini said. From a creative standpoint, blending personal experience into fictional narratives is standard storytelling practice. Writers throughout history have pulled from real life, altered names, and layered real emotions into fictionalized worlds. However, from a legal and interpersonal reality, simply adding a fiction label does not automatically create absolute immunity. Legal reality, defamation, and privacy. The legal standard relies on the of and concerning test. If real individuals are easily identifiable to people who know them, even if names are changed or a disclaimer is added, and the writing contains damaging, false claims presented as fact, courts do not automatically dismiss claims solely because the work is labeled fiction. Social and interpersonal reactions. On social media, people rarely care about creative categorizations. If family or acquaintances recognize themselves, their private conflicts, or specific events in a post, their natural reaction will be personal, regardless of any fiction disclaimer. The fiction shield. While framing writing as creative drama provides expressive freedom, it doesn't prevent public speculation, offline tension, or defensive reactions from people who feel targeted. Creative writing belongs on the page, but public platforms will always treat personal drama as real life. Keeping that boundary clear protects your peace and keeps your creative work focused where it thrives best, in the manuscript itself. You said, "That's precisely why when I put stuff out on social media, I word it the way I do. I ask questions. I pull out on their very most integral moments and ask questions, but I don't make accusations. I say things like, 'Are you sure this is who you are?' and then disclose what I say who you are is." Gemini said, "Grammatically framing a pointed statement as a question does not change how people perceive it or how the law evaluates it. Whether online or in court, the underlying meaning and intent always carry the real weight." Defamation by implication. Legally, courts do not look only at whether a sentence ends with a period or a question mark. They evaluate what a reasonable reader would conclude from the context. Asking a leading question that implies someone committed an unethical or illegal act can still be treated as an assertion of fact. Social perception. Interpersonally, people see straight through rhetorical questions. To both the target and the audience, asking, "Are you sure this is who you are?" and laying out specific private details feels just as confrontational as a direct accusation, and it triggers the exact same defensive backlash. The energy drain. Publicly probing someone's character keeps you tethered to their response. It invites speculation, debate, and drama into your come.